So Joseph and Jesus look a lot alike. Check this out. This is amazing when you see this. So Joseph and Jesus had a miraculous birth. Remember, Rachel was barren and God opened up her womb. And then she had a prayer which was much like the prayer that Mary had. It's amazing when you look at this. Now, there's more. He was the Father's most favored son. Remember that? Remember, he had a dream from God, 2 dreams from God. One of them is the sheaves bow down to him, the 12 sheaves, or the 11 sheaves, I should say. And it was the tribes of Israel. They bowed down to him, and they hated him for this. They hated him for his dreams even more, the scriptures say. And then what happens? The father sends Joseph. He sends him out of Hebron. Hebron means alliance or fellowship. So he's sent by the father out of alliance or fellowship with the father down to his brothers who were shepherding the father's flock. And when they saw him, even before he drew near to them, they conspired to murder him, right? And they stripped him of his tunic. This is the scene of the cross, you guys. Jesus was stripped of his tunic. Remember that? He was sold for pieces of silver by, who came up with that plan? Judah. The name Judas derives from the name Judah. And he was sold for 30 pieces of silver, Jesus was, which was also the price of a slave at that time. You can't make this stuff up. And then Joseph, he was falsely accused by that Potiphar's wife. Remember that? She tempted him just like Jesus was tempted in the desert. But then he was falsely accused. And then what happens? He's sent down into this place of the condemned. But the Lord was with Joseph, just like Jesus was in the heart of the earth, just as he said he would be. And he was down with the souls that were down there, right? There was a place of paradise, and then there was a place for the condemned. And Jesus was in that place. Remember, he told that criminal, today you will be with me in paradise. And it was down in this place, the place of the condemned, that he tells 2. There were 2 of them down there, the cupbearer and the baker. And what does he tell them? He tells them their fate. In 3 days, one would be restored to the king, and in 3 days, one would be cursed. Remember, the baker was cursed, and he died on that tree. But in 3 days, the cupbearer, remember that? The cupbearer is restored to the king, to serve the king, and he lives. Remember what Jesus, when he was crucified, there were 2 with him. Remember this? You can't make this up, Joseph and Jesus. And here's the thing, you guys. His story tells you not just his first coming, but it tells you about his second coming as well. And I'm going to show you that in just a little bit here. But look at the scripture here in Matthew. This is amazing, right? Here we see in Matthew chapter 27, it says, and the rebels, and I'm going to show you it right now. In the rebels, it says, the rebels, those are the 2 crucified with Jesus, who had been crucified with him, there it is, were also insulting him in the same way. So they both started out insulting Jesus, both of them. But then what happens? One of them has a change of heart. Well, this is the scene right here, and this is in Luke. This is in Luke chapter 23. Here it is in verse 44. And it was now the 6th hour, and there was darkness over the whole land until the 9th hour. And while the sun's light failed, and the curtain of the temple was torn in 2, and then it says, then Jesus, calling out with a loud voice, said, Father, into your hands do I commit my spirit. So Jesus died right then and there. But what happened just before Jesus died? He said this. He turned to that criminal, that one rebel, right? He turned to him and he says this to him. He says, first that criminal says, Lord, remember me in your kingdom. And he says, truly, truly, I say to you, today you will be with me in paradise. Whoa. So Jesus is talking about that very day, that man who had repented, he turned to God, turned to Jesus, and he said, Lord, remember me in your kingdom. He admitted he was a sinner before that, and then he said, remember me in your kingdom. Jesus looks at him and he says, today you will be with me in paradise. Where was this? Well, down in that place of the dead, Sheol, the grave, right? There was two places. Jesus talked about that when he told the story of the poor man, Lazarus, and the rich man. There was two places. One of them was a place of paradise where Abraham was. It was called Abraham's bosom. And this is where those who would be saved later when Jesus died and resurrected on the cross, they'd be united with him. But there was this place of paradise before that in the heart of the earth. And the other place was Gehenna, the place of torment, the place of torture, which became later known as hell. And so those two places were down there. But here you see Joseph down in that dungeon, that dark, dark place down in the earth in Egypt. And there were two who were put down there with him, the cupbearer and the baker. One of them is saved, the cupbearer. It says in 3 days, you will be restored to the king to serve him. And this is all in Genesis chapter 40. We'll look at that. I'm going to type it in right now, and we're going to look at Genesis 40, and we're going to see that. So let me type this real quick, and you're going to be amazed by this, I think. This is awesome, you guys. So here it is. Let's see. So Joseph interprets the two prisoners' dreams. So sometime after this, the cupbearer of the king of Egypt and his baker committed an offense against their lord, the king of Egypt. And Pharaoh was angry with his two officers, the chief cupbearer and the chief baker, and he put them in custody in the house of the captain of the guard in the prison where Joseph was confined. And the captain of the guard appointed Joseph to be with them, and he attended them, and they continued for some time in custody. They're there with Joseph, right? And one night they both dreamed, and the cupbearer and the baker, the king of Egypt, who were confined in the prison, each his own dream, and each dream with its own interpretation. When Joseph came to them in the morning, he saw that they were troubled. So he asked, this is awesome. So he asked Pharaoh's officers who were with him in custody in his master's house, "Why are your faces downcast today?" So Joseph is totally concerned about others, just like Jesus was concerned about others when he was being crucified. He said, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do." Remember that? And then they said to him, we have had dreams, and there is no one to interpret them. And Joseph said to them, "Do not interpretations belong to God? Please tell them to me." So the chief cupbearer told his dream to Joseph, and he said to him, "In my dream there was a vine before me, and in the vine there were 3 branches. As soon as it budded, its blossoms shot forth, and the clusters ripened to grapes. Pharaoh's cup was in my hand, and I took the grapes and pressed them into Pharaoh's cup and placed the cup in Pharaoh's hand." And then Joseph said to him, this is the interpretation, "The 3 branches are 3 days." Remember, Jesus was dead. He was dead in the tomb. His body was for 3 days, and his soul, his spirit was down in the heart of the earth, and so was that criminal who was saved on the cross with him. And this is the interpretation. The 3 branches are 3 days, and 3 days Pharaoh will lift up your head and restore you to the office, and you shall place Pharaoh's cup in his hand as formerly when you were his cupbearer. Only remember me when it is well with you, and please do to me the kindness to mention me to Pharaoh, and so get me out of this house. This is amazing because remember, the criminal said, "Remember me when you go into your kingdom," to Jesus. And then now you see it in Joseph's story too. It's different characters. "But for I was indeed stolen out of the land of the Hebrews," Joseph said, "and here also I have done nothing that they should put me in this pit." Remember, Jesus was innocent, but he was still sent down to the place of the condemned. And then the other one, the chief baker, also had a dream, but this doesn't work out so good for him. And he says that there's birds who eat from this basket, which is on my head, right? These 3 baskets. And so what it is, Joseph interprets it right here. He says, on the 3rd day, which was Pharaoh's, right here, Joseph says, "This is the interpretation. 3 baskets are 3 days. In 3 days, Pharaoh will lift up your head from you." Uh-oh, that's not good. "And hang you on a tree, and the birds will eat the flesh from you." In other words, he is cursed. So it's like the picture of the two on the cross. Amazing. But then it says on the third day, which was Pharaoh's birthday, he made a feast for all of his servants and lifted up the head of the chief cupbearer and the head of the chief baker among the servants and restored the chief cupbearer to his position, and he placed the cup in Pharaoh's hand. But he hanged the chief baker as Joseph had interpreted for him, yet the chief cupbearer did not remember Joseph, but he forgot him. Wow, what amazing parallels to the story of Jesus. Amazing. And there's even more, because what happens later, Joseph is raised up out of that place of the condemned, and he's brought before the throne. Remember that? And then what happens? He's the only one found worthy to reveal God's future plan. And he does. And it's just like Revelation 5, where Jesus was the only one found worthy to take the scroll out of the right hand of he who sits on the throne. Then what happens? He's given a Gentile bride, right? He's living in a Gentile land. His Gentile bride is with him. And then that 7-year time of great trouble, that famine, which was over the whole face of the earth, the scripture says, came. And it was during that 7-year time of trouble, or you could say Jacob's trouble, that his brothers come back to him, bow down, and he forgives them, and he shows them kindness and mercy, grace, right? And he forgives them and loves them, and he restores them, and he gives them the best of the land. He unites his old family with his new family as one forever and ever. This is the story of Jesus, you guys, his first and his second coming. Amazing, is it not? Don't forget to subscribe, you guys, and you'll get more information like this. There's a playlist right here, See Jesus in the Old Testament. I think you'll be blessed by it. Don't forget to click on that. I love you. God bless you. Remember this, Jesus wins in the end.